if you don't have a direction for where you want to go, or maybe you don't know what your own message is, and I would say I was a little bit guilty of this at one point around episode 80. I was really focused on interviewing other people, and I love meeting people, and it was all people that were in business, and it was great. But what happened over the 80 episodes was it started to dilute a bit of the message. Why was I here? Why was I doing it? I felt like I was just having a podcast to promote other people's businesses. And I started to lose what I understood was my golden thread, personal branding. Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Lundberg and welcome back to another solo episode on the Kelly Lundberg podcast. I'm really enjoying doing these podcast episodes that are solo. I love speaking to guests, but I'm also really enjoying answering your questions when it comes to personal branding or anything related around to visibility for you in your business. So over the past couple of weeks, and I'd even say more, I get this question a lot, and it is, should I start a podcast? Now, here I am in the podcasting studio, and, I think it's really important because 90% of the time I would say, yes, you should start a podcast. However, there are some things I want to add to this. What should you be looking out for and what should you be considering? So first of all, when is it not a good time to start a podcast? I think this is really important to think about this aspect before you dive into it, because there's no denying it is a time-consuming part of personal brand visibility. It is excellent, and I'm going to dive into why it is so good, but it is time-consuming. So first of all, that leads to, if you lack time, podcasts are not the thing you should be doing right now. They do require a significant amount of time to plan the episodes or the content in the beginning. You've got recording, matching your diary if you've got guests, or finding the time to record yourself. There's editing, there's promoting, and if you're already stretched with other commitments and running your business or anything else that's going on in your personal life, it really can become overwhelming, and just the consistency can then fall. And I've been on both sides of this. I've done weekly episodes, and then I thought, you know what, it's too time consuming. I've reduced it to less episodes, and it really affected my reach. So for me, I would say, to keep the consistency going, to keep the reach going, to get to the tipping effect or the tipping point where people want to sponsor your podcast, there's got to be consistency. So with that, you've got to have time to invest in it. I would also say if you don't have a clear strategy or purpose, so if you don't have a direction for where you want to go, or maybe you don't know what your own message is, and I would say I was a little bit guilty of this at one point around episode 80. I was really focused on interviewing other people, and I love meeting people, and it was all people that were in business, and it was great. But what happened over the 80 episodes was it started to dilute a bit of the message. Why was I here? Why was I doing it? I felt like I was just having a podcast to promote other people's businesses, and I started to lose what I understood was my golden thread, personal branding. And there has to be an element of that now. And then all of a sudden I had a much clearer direction. And then it just made me so much more enthusiastic about actually creating content and podcast episodes. I would also say if you've got an inconsistent personal brand, it's not the right time to start a podcast. So if your personal brand is or your personal brand strategy, I should say, is still under development, or you're undergoing some changes, wait till you've got to the point of going, oh, this is what I'm clear on. So back to purpose and direction. This is who I am, and this is my message, so that you have a cohesive brand message before extending it into content creation and podcasting. So now let's dive into why podcasting should or could be part of your next personal brand strategy. So it shows off your expertise. So if you want to become a thought leader, someone who's credible in the industry, podcasting is great to do that because you demonstrate your knowledge on specific episodes or topics, and it positions you as the expert, and you're regularly learning things from either research that you're doing into podcast episodes or you're learning from other people. So I love this. When I first started my podcast, so I've had 2 podcasts. In 2011, I launched a podcast series called Where Catwalk Meets Commerce. And in the fashion industry, all I did was interview other people within the fashion industry. And it made complete sense. I was getting to meet with top fashion designers that visited the Middle East. I interviewed people all over the world. I loved it. And it works really well for me for that period while I had the time, while I was clear about my personal brand. I was a celebrity stylist at the time. It just all made sense and it showcased my expertise. Now, my personal brand, the Kelly Lundberg Show, is about personal branding. It's about people coming on, me sharing solo episodes, information that will help you with your personal brand, but also you'll learn and be inspired from other people with their personal brand. Another reason why I think podcast episodes or creating a podcast is great is because it creates deep connections. So what do we mean by deep connections? Podcasts provide personal and authentic connections with audiences. And what do I mean by that? It's quite often if you're watching or listening to this, and maybe in your earbuds or maybe in your car, and it's a really condensed space where it's just kind of one-on-one. You're listening to tips I'm sharing, or you're getting an aha moment as you listen to something that you can implement into your personal brand strategy. People hear your voice, they connect with you, and it just humanizes your brand. And I love that part of it. So I think when it comes to podcasting, that marketing strategy that people say where they need to be exposed to you 7 times, I think it's something like that. Having a podcast is a great way to be able to do that regularly and demonstrate your authenticity, but what you're an expert in as well. It undoubtedly expands your network. I can't tell you the amount of incredible people that I've met that have developed into friendships. You gain valuable connections that, you know, it can be not necessarily great in business now, but in 5 years' time, something could happen. And it could be, wow, we met then, or this happened then. You get speakers on if you have guests that you admire. I had a fangirl moment when I had Marshall Goldsmith on. I remember buying his book years ago. What got you here won't get you there. And then to have him on my podcast, you know, he was one of the very first kind of leadership coaches and such a wealth of knowledge. The same with Marissa Peers. When she was on my podcast, I've met her many times since then at events, and just hearing her on global podcasts and then having her onto mine, it's just an extension and networks, people that you know. So I think it's a great tool. It increases your visibility for sure. Visibility is your responsibility, which is why I'm doing podcasts, but it's down to you to get the consistency out there. Hosting a podcast will really help increase your presence over platforms. So whether that's Instagram, whether that's TikTok, whether that's repurposing it on LinkedIn and connecting, you know, other people in on that, it's huge for visibility. You know, when it comes to, you know, never being deterred with the numbers. You know, we share a lot of our content on YouTube, and sometimes some of the videos only get 70 views, 100 views, maybe 200 views compared to other videos that I've got that have got millions. And some people get really put off with that and go, well, why would I? And then I say, what if I could put you in a room with 76 people? Would you be happy? And they go, yeah, I'd be really happy. So don't let the vanity metrics put you off with that as well. I think having a podcast builds consistency, content schedule. So it's always got content every single week because I batch my podcast. So I always know for a month I've got regular content that can come out as well. And I think again, you can stay top of mind as well with your potential clients or people that follow you. Remember, not everyone's ready to buy your product or service now, but they could be in the future, and it could be just that one episode that changes things. I think this is a great one. Why you should have a podcast? Because it improves your public speaking. So podcasts really sharpen your communication skills. You have to think on the spot, especially if you've got other people in the room with you. You've got to be able to link questions so that there's a natural flow. You've got to be able to write content out so this makes sense for you so you can listen to it. From, you know, thinking on your feet, to becoming a better speaker. I honestly think that this is one of the best things that having a podcast has allowed me to do. I always say to my clients, what you want to be doing, if a professional speaking career at some point is something you want to do, basically, do you want to be paid to speak? Then you should be looking at opportunities to be speaking at least 4 times a month. And if you're not getting those opportunities at the moment that are paid or unpaid, creating a podcast, doing LinkedIn Lives, or doing Instagram Lives is another great way for you to practice that skill as well. It provides long form content which goes out on YouTube, or it's things that you can create and share on LinkedIn as well. And ultimately, it builds a loyal community that are engaged, that can be advocates for other ventures. Maybe not everyone wants to buy your product or service, but they might want to buy a book from you at some point if it goes out, or something completely different. So people can listen to you anytime. I love that. They can go back and listen to old episodes. This content stays and you can keep sharing it. So if any of this has inspired you, you might be interested in our little podcast bundle. And this is something that I put together based on, do you know what? When I first started, I learned everything about how to get my podcast out on YouTube. So I've kind of put all of that into one place. I've created a graphic that you can use for your album cover. I've put on tips on how you can get started with your very first podcast. What are the things you need to think about? And it's only $47. I put the link below. But keep asking questions, because this generates content for me in order to be able to help you. And that is the one thing I absolutely love doing. So if you've been inspired, click the thumbs up if you're watching this, or please leave a comment that you've enjoyed this particular episode or any of the episodes, because this just helps us get more visibility. Until next time, bye for now. Do you know about our brand new Accelerator program? This is designed to help accelerate your personal brand over the next 12 months. This hybrid program includes a 72-page playbook, a step-by-step guide to growing your personal brand. Along with the playbook, you'll have instructional videos that will help you, and monthly calls with me to make sure that you boost your visibility and credibility, and you're held accountable. Plus, we've included bonus sessions from industry experts, whether that's in PR, public speaking, AI writing, and social media. So whether your goal is to attract more clients, visibility, speaking opportunities, getting in the media, then Brand New Accelerator will help you achieve these goals and so much more. So book in for a call today and find out how you can accelerate your personal brand. If you've enjoyed what I've shared, give it a thumbs up if you are watching this on YouTube, or please give us some love on Spotify, subscribe to this, or if you're listening on Apple, then leave us a review. We very, very much appreciate it. Until next time, bye for now.